Welcome back to Lahti. The Nordic World Championships rolls on, and what an occasion it's been over the last 24 hours. Looking forward to the finals of the sprints. The semi-finals, as they call them, have just finished. We're waiting to see exactly who's qualified in the men's event. Norway, Finland looking very dominant in the women's, and the women will go first. Mike Dixon, Patrick Winston with you throughout the cross-country action. Mike, a little bit of snow this morning, which will have had the technicians in a flurry, I think, just before the start. What do you make of the course, which is slightly different from the one that they used in the individual sprints?
Well, it really is. It's really a course all the way up to the high point in one continual hit and then all the way back down. Very unusual to get that profile.
Well, Lahti hasn't moved since we were last here. We're 100 kilometers or so north of Helsinki. It takes an hour or so on the icy roads up to Lahti, right on the south end of Lake Päijänne, and it's a stunning area. I'd like to come here in the summer, actually. There aren't any big mountains, but they've made some brutally hard courses. Well, yesterday was all about the skiathlon, which is where they combine the traditional classic style with the freestyle, and now an opportunity just to look and refresh your minds as to what happened. Well, the women racing 2 lots of 7.5 kilometres in the classic style, as is always the way. Mike, Marit Bjørgen, the hot favourite, having won the title on 4 previous occasions. And Marit Bjørgen up with the leaders at the start of the second phase. But it wasn't long after the transition, Mike, when Bjørgen and Pärmäkoski broke away and created the most fantastic atmosphere.
I think it's the best, certainly the best women's skiathlon we've ever seen. It was so close. Bjørgen didn't know how to break Pärmäkoski until the very final 2 kilometres.
Yeah, sadly, we've missed the crucial section, which was the very last uphill section where Bjørgen put on a phenomenal sprint. Her coaches had told her during the race, this is where you go. She obeyed orders, and she came home with her 15th World Championship gold medal. Add to that the 6 gold medals from the Olympic Games. You have the out-and-out star. She has now gone ahead of Elena Velber.
I've been a mom, and I haven't been the easy way to come back, but after Christmas I had feeling very good and had some good competition, so I knew that today it was possible, and yeah, I'd feel strong, and I knew that possible that I was a little bit better than her in the last meters. I feel better in sprint than Pärmäkoski, so I had a very good last uphill.
Well, she certainly did, and Bjørgen victorious once again. Kalle also on the podium. Now, the men's event over twice the distance, 2 lots of 15Ks. Ustiakov and Sundby starting as equal favourite. I think Sundby, of course, on form recently with World Cup wins. Ustiakov, the Tour de Ski champion, and so strong and so disappointed, Mike, only to get the silver in the sprint.
He was so unhappy at the press conference after that second place. He felt he was going to win it, and of course he was just taken by Pellegrino in the last few metres.
Well, here's the last dramatic moment as Sundby made his bid for glory, but one mistake, one missed pole plant, down he goes, the right-hand stick breaks, and Sundby out of contention. That was at the very summit of the final climb, and there was no comeback from there. Ustiakov of Russia cruised home to take the gold medal, so he's got a silver and a gold from the games already, and he goes again today in the team sprint, and the Russian team looking very strong as he's matched up with Kryakov. His first gold deserved, Mike, when you consider what he's done this season. Always difficult to take after the recent revelations of Sochi in 2014, but Ustiakov, he's a genuine star. Well, he was delighted with the way things turned out, and saying that he was well aware that Sundby had gone down, and he knew that was his opportunity. So here's the setting for the stadium at the north end of Lahti. we've not done too badly in terms of crowds. The ski jumping was packed last night for the men's normal hill. Austria getting the gold medal in that. Germany getting another 2 medals. And cross-country yesterday, Mike, they reckon 35,000 in the stadium and around the tracks.
Yes, it was a very good turnout. And it was great to see that final sprint there from Sundby. Sadly for him, it didn't work out. And the coach running there with that spare ski pole, about 2 seconds for him to run down the track. But it wasn't enough for Sundby to turn that around.
No, but it did mean that Sundby stayed in silver medal position. Had the coach not been there, the chasing group might well have caught him.
The chasing group weren't far behind at that stage, and it was an incredible race. That was, I think that was her best ever skiathlon. 2 men out front, the chessboard, you didn't know which way it was going to go until that final hill, and it went wrong for Sundby.
Yeah, normally 2 seconds between the top 3 in the skiathlon. Yesterday, of course, those leading 2 some 30 seconds ahead of the chasers. Andy Musgrave finishing in 11th, incidentally. Well, here are Per Elofsson and, of course, Jochen Behler. Behler, a former World Cup winner. Elofsson, a double champion from Lahti back in 2001.
Yeah, down from the stadium, they have to go all the way up in the classic style team sprint with these really strong uphill at the end.
Yeah, it's a very special course. It's just one uphill, long uphill, and then it's a long downhill down to the stadium.
I never saw this in a team sprint before.
What do you think about it?
Yeah, they did it because they want to save the classic technique, so no double falling, and that's definitely not possible here. So it will be interesting, but it will be a course for the long distance runners.
Yeah, of course.
Not for the sprinters.
It's a real tough course.
Yes. 6 times, 3 times in the half final.
Yeah.
And then 3 times in the final, so the winner has to have a good shape.
Well, the boys out on the tracks, not looking quite in the shape they were back. Well, Jochen Behler, what was it? He won a race out in Calgary, I think it was, a 50K. I think it was a wave start, one of the first ever wave starts.
1987, I think.
1987, it was just prior to the 88 Olympic Games. Per Elofsson, a little more recent, and he's... you know, he's a great man. Since he retired, he's been working in one of the big Swedish banks for 9 years, and he's gone back to college, he tells me, learning about construction. So he's obviously going to rebuild Sweden, and no doubt he'll have a ski stadium in there as well. Elofsson, Mike, was one of the big stars, but he was a little short-lived in terms of his potential.
He was a great talent. He always made his skiing, especially his skating, look effortless, and 11 victories overall.
Welcome back to Lahti. What a fabulous setting this is, with the big 3 jumps up to the right of the stadium, and of course all the cross-country tracks work their way up that hill, back down again, and there is no reprieve on any of the cross-country courses, and probably least so of all today. A new design for the sprint course. Now, the semi-finals have already taken place, and we had a situation, Mike, 2 semi-finals, obviously, but the 2 winners go through, plus the 6 fastest losers. The idea of that is that they keep the pace up in both of the semi-finals, because there are so few places up for grabs. You've got to make sure you produce a respectable time.
You very much. I think the second heat, clearly you've got your coaches are giving you some split timing, so there's more guidance there in Group 2.
Norway, of course, winning heat number 1, no surprise there. Finland looking very composed. Saarinen and Niskanen teaming up today. They've gone for the veterans, Mike, and I think the Finns feel that this is an endurance athletes event, not a sprinters event.
I think so. Well, you're doing 3 minutes, 3:15 of very hard work. You're getting 3 minutes 15 recovery, so it is more an endurance than an absolute outright sprinter.
Yeah, for me, this is the equivalent of the sprinters' Alpchemise.
It's certainly a steep climb.
Heat number 2, the United States, of course, Bjornsson and Diggins, they took gold back in 2013. Sweden with Ingmarsdottir and Nielsen, they took gold in 2011. And Germany, who took the Olympic title back in 2014. So quite a talented group. Sweden looking good. Everyone interested to see how Stina Nielsen gets on today, Mike. She's had a really disappointing championships when you consider her form back in the Tour de Ski.
Her form was excellent. She wasn't at the races at all yesterday. She started 1 kilometre strong and then she just could not live with the pace, finishing 26th.
So with the top 2 going through, plus the 6 fastest losers, we have 10 through to the final. Norway, Sweden, Finland, Germany have all made it. Switzerland, the United States, Russia getting through with Belarukova and Matvieva, and then Italy, Slovenia and Poland just getting through. The Polish went light on the wax. They paid a price.
They certainly did. Kowalczyk's certainly strong as the anchor leg, the second leg, but their weakness is leg number 1. And maybe they'll just put a little bit more wax on for this next, for the final.
Well, there's the lineup of the women's semi-final. Now we move on to the men's semi. Norway, hot favourites, I guess. They've had the most success, 3 gold medals in this event since it was introduced. But it wasn't a trouble-free run from them. They had a broken pole, they had a fall, they had some really bad exchanges, but still managing to claim top spot.
Well, they'll be thinking we can't be any more unlucky than that. So they've got all the bad luck out of the way in the qualifying. But that's what I like about this race. You've got so many situations, and one particularly tight corner. There's going to be some errors made by some of the teams, without a doubt.
Now the Norwegians went light on wax as well, Mike. We saw them herringboning very early on the climb. I just get the feel they're sometimes trying to be a little bit too clever. Here's the second of the semis. Now, we had a big fall from the Germans, and not a dislocated shoulder, but certainly some damage done, and that's done a certain amount of damage to their chances.
Well, I think he bent his arm back the wrong way, or the way that it doesn't bend back. So he was okay when he went onto his final lap.
Well, I'll have a little gamble with my physio background that it's the rotator cuff muscles that have taken a pounding. He'll be able to race later on using the big triceps, but he's going to be one sore boy tomorrow morning, and he may pay a long-term price for continuing racing. We'll see how they get on.
I was thinking the same, but they had, what, 50 minutes they have to work, 45 minutes to work on that muscle to see if they can release it, make it better somehow.
Well, there you see the results. Colombia getting lapped, actually. Colombia only managed to get 1 of the 6 laps completed before they were pulled out. The jury a little harsh on that occasion, but perhaps sensible.
I would like to have seen the jury at least let the second man go halfway up the hill, then pull them out. He didn't even get a chance to start.
Now, Ustiakov also racing again for the Russians. Of course, he's got a silver and a gold. He could almost certainly be adding to his collection. The question is what colour it's going to be. He's taking the last leg, Mike. How much is yesterday's skiathlon? 30 kilometres, brutally hard with Sundby. Can he recover in the space of 23 hours?
It's quite incredible. Any sports scientist would tell you no, but Ustiakov, we've seen Petter Northug do it actually at these championships over many years. You think it's superhuman, but I think he does have the possibility to, again, take another gold medal here. His teammate Krukov, he's no slouch either.
Yeah, Kryakov, of course, has been involved in all the Russian success over the years. He was in the team in 2010. He's not missed a major championship since then, but he is getting on a bit, and I just feel this could be his last championships. He might struggle to qualify for Pyeongchang. Well, Australia are out, 126 behind. Romania likewise. Iceland, nice to see them in there, but totally outclassed in the semi-finals earlier on today. Now, we've had the world's best skiers in action, and some of the press saying we've seen the world's worst skier as well here in Lahti.
And that was great to see, inviting a non-skier, if you like, to take part, and it was very entertaining, and he was a great new addition to the field here.
Welcome back to Lahti. Not quite a packed stadium, but I imagine it will fill even further. There are a few very busy hot dog stands out the back of the stand. Mike, the weather certainly hasn't been as good as Austria in the Biathlon World Championships, but there's good atmosphere.
It's very good atmosphere, and now we're getting the people in at the weekend. I was wondering, you know, looking at Hochfilzen, we had the sunshine every day, a lot of bands playing, a lot of singing. What differences are you feeling up here?
Well, the general noise in Hogfilson was phenomenal. It's a raucous occasion. Here, the general way of showing your appreciation is to clap, as we see one of the technicians going through his paces. What an important man he is. And there are crowds of Norwegians out there testing skis all day long. Doesn't matter whether the conditions are going to be the same as the next day. But Mike, 1% on the ski could make the difference between first and fifth.
And the balance, Patrick, as well. You're skiing up the steep hill. Yes, it's only about a minute 40 off the course to the very high point, 43 minutes, almost direct climb. You need to have the grip, but then for the second part of the course, you need to have an exceptional glide. So the wax technicians trying to blend that balance.
Yeah, so the idea is that if you go soft with the wax, you're going to get up the hill quickly, but you're going to come down slowly. If you go too hard and too short with the wax, you're going to struggle on the uphills, but you should, in theory, be a little bit quicker on the downhills. And that could be crucial with the last 350 meters of this course is absolutely flat, and all depends on your ski speed down that final downhill.
Very much, and I think the Norwegian team, Klæbo especially, he was literally running up the steepest of climbs, so not much wax there to get the grip, so he's having to impact his compression through the ski to get the grip.
The energy is
it going to be a day for the Finns? As we mentioned, they've gone for veterans in their team. Saarinen is here. She's been training specifically for this. 38 years old. You wouldn't imagine that she was going to be able to win a World Championship sprint event, but she's strong. We've seen her in the Tour de Ski. She's a great hill climber, and that's what you need today.
It was pretty high pace from the
I think you need that experience. Saarinen been around since when? 2002 at World Cup racing.
Theodor Pedersen teaming up with Emil Jonsson for Sweden.
Yeah, that's an interesting blend. Jonsson, of course, great sprinter, but you need the endurance as well today, and that's why Theodor is in. Not had too many successes in his career, 4 wins, but always there at the sharp end.
What about Norge with Faller, Maiken Caspersen Faller, the world #1 in the sprints, of course. She's now not only the Olympic champion, she's just claimed the world title 3 days ago, and she'll be very confident that she can play an important part in the Norwegian team. No Marit Bjørgen, they've gone for Heidi Weng.
Heidi Weng, well, I was doing my calculations earlier. In 93 days since we had the first race in Ruka in Finland, 26th of November, she's done 26 races, and that's a race. 1 race every 3.5 days on average. She's completely spent, in my opinion. 14th in the sprint. She'd normally be winning it, and 5th yesterday, but way off the pace. I wonder if she can. I wonder if she's going to be able to keep Norway up on the podium.
Yeah, and Heidi Weng taking the first leg. So they've got the fast twitch fibers of Faller on the second leg, which I think is the right way around to do it. In the men's, Norway have gone the other way. They've put the sprinter on the first leg. Their idea is to break away early, whereas the Norwegian women will hope to do it on the final lap. There are the conditions, just -0.2. We've been down to -12 earlier on in the week, and a little bit of wind, so it feels very bitter when it drops down to those sort of temperatures. Let's have a look at the course.
Most unusual course we mentioned earlier, Patrick, and never in sprint racing have we seen a complete climb up. Yes, then it's undulating, but no other major climb before your descent down to the stadium. And I think this will enable a lot of teams to stick together, because you've just to survive for that 1 minute 30 with the fastest in the world.
Yeah, I have to agree. I have to disagree with you on that one. I think by the time you've done it 3 times, this is just like the Alpchemise. It's going to split them according to the engine they've got.
The big engines will always float to the top, but it might allow survival if you could just focus in on that 1 minute 30, and that's what the coaches will be saying to their athletes. You must live with this. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
So the first runners for the women's prepare themselves. We've got a very big exchange box here, which is good news. In Pyeongchang for the pre-Olympics, we saw the Norwegian men getting disqualified for skiing out of the box, but it was a limited box on that occasion. There's plenty of room here. It's well marked. I don't think we'll see any mistakes, but in the semi-finals all the way through, Mike, we didn't see one clean exchange. The outgoing athlete never had anything like maximum speed when the handover occurred.
It's quite unusual. I know we only get 3 of these competitions each season, but why wouldn't you have your teams out practicing these changeovers? At least here, Patrick, compared to Pyeongchang, they've extended the exchange zone by some 40 meters. It was 30 meters in Pyeongchang. It's 70 here.
So there's your lineup. Weng and Falla go for Norway, looking to add yet another title to their name. And if Norway are going to top the medal tables come the end of these championships, they need to win all the women's cross-country ski events. They've managed that so far. United States with Bjornsson and Diggins, that's a strong combination. No Keegan Randall in there.
Yeah, Keegan Randall, well, she's had that break, a whole season missing, of course, a mother now, and she's still good. We saw that when she took the bronze medal in the sprint, but they must be favouring the more dynamic, the faster tempo to get to the top of that mountain first. There's Heidi Weng. I wonder just how nervous she is, knowing full well that she's not quite at her best.
Yeah, yesterday was disappointing, obviously, for Heidi Weng. I wonder whether she was just easing up because she thought the medals had gone. Once Falla broke away, she seemed to just cut down on the pace. Saarinen going for Finland. She is the one that is going to bring this stadium to their feet. Saarinen teamed up with Kerttu Niskanen. This could be the big chance of gold for Finland. They, of course, got a brilliant silver with Palmakoski yesterday. Boller goes for Germany, teamed up with Nicole Fessel from Oberstdorf.
A good team, the veterans of the team, lots of talented youngsters.
The Swiss with Feindrich and Van der Graaf, who was just off the podium yesterday. There's Bjornsson for the United States, and Jessie Diggins with her. Russia with Belarukova, who takes the first leg, and then Matvieva. It was Medvedeva who cut a cheek open yesterday. No word as to how many stitches were involved. Debatolis goes for Italy. We saw them out doing some classic training the other day. Beautifully smooth on the skis. Technique down to perfection.
Wisner, what about Wisner? The disappointment in the sprint. She qualified third. She finished 24th.
And Markovic and Kowalczyk for Poland. Kowalczyk, of course, her focus really on the 10-kilometer classic. Away they go. So important to reach the base of the first climb with 2 poles intact. That could be a major mistake. We saw a couple of broken poles in the semi-finals. No congestion so far. They just break left a little, and then the climbing starts. And we've got, what, 18 seconds on the clock. We'll see just how long it is until they reach the summit. This event, Mike, is like a full-on interval session. 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off. And, of course, you've got a little rest as you come back down into the stadium.
You have, and I'm sure many athletes watching this in cycling, running, every sport will be aware of what interval is. And this is brutal because 43 meters rise, you can see the climb all the way up here, and then you're not quite recovering because you've got the balance aspect, you've got fast corners at 30-40 kilometers an hour, so you really need good balance in this as well when the legs are expended.
Now, we really enjoyed the individual sprint, which of course was a totally different layout. It broke round to the right of the stadium, then came back through the stadium and up the climb that they're on at the moment. The reason that they've changed the design of the course is to take out any opportunity of someone double poling all the way.
Well, that's right. Well, the sport was beginning to evolve, wasn't it, with pure upper body power, double poling power, so therefore the poles were getting longer and longer. They've restricted that this season as well, with the poles 83% of your maximum body height.
Now, those coming out of the tracks early, usually an indication that the skis aren't gripping so well, but as the slope steepens, they'll all break into the herringbone. Saarinen happy to be controlling the pace up the front. Heidi Weng going over to the right-hand side, which is exactly what they did in the semi-final.
Yes, and Heidi Weng, that much more crisp, sharper tempo. Saarinen's just charging her way up the hill, but I must say the Finns have got a very good grip wax.
Now, over the years, we've watched many of these team sprints, and I think in probably 95%, the first 5 legs take place. They leave it all down to the powerhouse on the 6th and final lap. Is that going to happen? Generally, at the major championships, those weaker teams have to make a bid for glory. They've got to decide to do something different.
It's quite interesting. Remember, they've been around this 3 times already each in the qualifying, so without a doubt, the pace is less aggressive now than it was in the qualifying, and everybody's just, they know exactly where they kind of fit in the pack, and they're just, I think, feeling what's happening around them. I'm sure it will pick up sharply when Jess Diggins gets out on the track.
Jess Diggins going second for United States.
And of course, Fala's going to turn the pace up massively.
We will see. They'll all have tactics. They'll all have a game plan, and kept firmly under wraps prior to the race. So no one's really got a clue who is going to do what in the closing stages. Down into the finish, when they go under the banner on the final lap, they'll have 355 metres exactly through to the finish. It was taking the men around 36.5 seconds to complete that distance. That's the sort of speeds they're going. And the men's sprint, incidentally, the average speed was 30 kilometres an hour. It was 30 kilometres an hour.
Yes, incredible. Jess Diggins has taken America from 4th up into 1st. That's a good turn of pace.
Yeah, the handover again at this stage, just trying to avoid some trouble. It doesn't matter if you go wide. And then a little bit of fight for position. Russia trying to get themselves back up level with the leaders. Natalia Matvieva shouldn't have too much trouble doing that. And already Poland off the mark. Markovic has lost a lot of ground. And Justyna Kowalczyk... I was slightly surprised to see her doing this, Mike, but I'm just wondering whether this is the warm-up for the 10-kilometre classic, which is her only chance of taking a medal.
Yes, I think this will be, and they were a little lucky. I think the Polish team in qualifying, they were the last team to qualify, and there's Kowalczyk in the background, her usual aggressive attacking style.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough day for Kowalczyk. Heidi Weng under a military blanket. Number 4, that of course is Slovenia. Katja Wisnar took the first leg for them. Germany out front, maybe remembering back to the good old days, 2010 Vancouver, when they took the Olympic title.
Just looking at this pace, Patrick, I think this does allow Kowalczyk to close the gap. She really is attacking over the crest of the first steep rise, then it flattens out, now the second very steep rise. It's not that fast yet, and we should see Kowalczyk in the background at the top. There she is, coming into picture.
Interesting to see Fala coming out of the tracks very early on, again going to the right-hand side. There's no doubt the Norwegian coaches would have looked at the conditions. They will have taken the temperature on the right, taken it on the left, and worked out that on the right-hand side, the snow is a fraction cooler, and that is where the grip is likely to be better. A bit of confusion at the top of the climb. Hopefully, no one ruling themselves out of contention.
Well, that was Van de Graaf from Switzerland tangling with another athlete. I didn't see exactly who.
Yeah, she's dropped right to the back. Still hasn't got her rhythm back, as Germany and Norway side by side as they lead. Sweden with Stina Nilsson keeping an eye on that. Stina Nilsson comes from Mora, which is of course the home of the Vasaloppet. That takes place next week, a 92-kilometre tour race. It is one of the great occasions, something like 15,000 herring across the lake at the start.
Incredible. 92 kilometres, that's a test, but it's mostly flat. Here's Van de Graaf tripping up, maybe Jess Diggins. It is Jess Diggins. Jess got away.
Yeah, Van de Graaf with a broken pole. That's why she dropped to the back. The coaches are there in numbers, and I would imagine that the Italians, just about any team, will hand over a pole to keep her on the tracks.
Well, if you're going to trip up twice, you may as well do it on your first rotation.
Nilsson, incredibly slow skis. Now, you can only use one pair of skis in the event once the final has started. So those technicians from Sweden are going to have to do some work. Watch how much ground she loses on the descent into the stadium. And Nilsson, remember, will be taking the final lap. She is not going to win. She's gone from 3rd back to 5th. I don't know what they'll do with the skis, Mike, but they might have to shorten the grip zone.
Her skis, I'm looking at her now, her skis, she's having to stand up early and double pole, so they're going to have to take some of that grip wax off, and they're going to have to do it in 3 minutes.
So far, no problems for Norway. Fala looking very, very comfortable as she leads the way into the exchange, and Niskanen of Finland just tracking the Norwegians. I think that will be their game plan, just like Palmakoski did to Bjørgen all the way through yesterday. It was like she had a little elastic rope from the waist of Bjørgen to her own waist for what, something like 14 and a half of those 15 kilometres.
Oh, it's quite incredible. They were just stuck together, no way of breaking. What a performance there from Justyna Kowalczyk. She pulled all of those 6-7 seconds back and has made contact with the lead group.
So the fact that we don't have anyone hanging off the back, an indication that the pace is not too punishing at the moment. They're on their 3rd of 6 laps, and Norway the first into that second exchange with Fala. Norway with 2 goals already. They'd love to add a third one here. Germany, with the way things are going in the Nordic combined and the ski jumping, I think the Germans will feel they've got to get something from the cross country. Today might be their chance. Böhler Fessel, a very strong combination, provided they get their tactics right. Finland will be hungry, Mike. Saarinen, Niskanen, so much experience. Saarinen knows these tracks like the back of her hand.
She absolutely does, and well, she knows this hill especially, but it all comes down now to trying to deal with this next, what, 17 minutes to take Finland into the podium again. Of course, a second yesterday. This is quite incredible from Fala.
Or Heidi Weng.
Weng, I think I'm having a bad day here, of course, Weng, but that's incredible. After yesterday's pace, I thought, well, that's got to be Fala putting the pace on.
But this course, this is what Weng, when she's on her best form, this is the sort of design she likes. We saw her on the Alpecin-Mees. She looked very comfortable on that climb, the final day of the Tour de Ski. The one Norwegian missing, of course, because of the ban, is Therese Johaug. With her, I think Norway would be unbeatable.
Yes, this climb would suit Therese, and Therese Johaug must be watching this back home and, well, wishing she was here. She's not, but she certainly is, or was, the fastest climber.
So, finally, we have a spread between the first 7 athletes, and a few of them struggling at the back. Heidi Weng is the athlete that has done the damage. Russia hanging on by their fingernails at the moment.
Well, Weng did try that little pace at the top of the climb. I think next time, or next leg, of course, Fala, I'm quite sure she will put it on a very, very fast pace to the top of the climb to try and get some separation here. Norway will not want the risk of being tangled or tripped up, and they will try and gain some separation.
This is where Bing of Germany went down in the men's race. This corner's been redesigned. It's actually called the J corner, not because of the shape of it, but because of one of the Finnish ski manufacturers who used to have a banner about 15 meters by 5 that was on that corner in the old days. But since they've redesigned it, they've moved it, but they've kept the name.
Well, so often at this level of racing, you get skis gliding almost exactly the same, but so much variation in the pace of the glide today, and that is so important.
And you just get the feeling that things are getting a little more urgent out there. Norway, Finland, USA, Sweden, the top 4 through the third exchange. Belarukova just in there for Russia, 1.56 behind. Feindrich of Switzerland getting back in there, and that's good news for the Swiss after the broken pole from Van der Graaf. And Poland still hanging on at the back. Every time their first leg runner goes, they lose some 30-40 meters. In fact, on this occasion, it's 60-70 meters.
Well, if Justina can keep pulling back this deficit time, she's a miracle lady, and well, she is a miracle lady. 50 victories in her career.
Well, Russia. Now, was there a touch between the two Russians?
You have to make physical contact. Ow. That's painful. Jess Diggins will have a sore, or no, Bjornsson, of course, sore left hand.
But I'm still not convinced that the two Russians, Belarukova, did she touch Matveeva at the start of that leg?
Well, you have to physically make contact anywhere on the body.
We will see. No yellow cards issued at the moment. Well, actually, we're just hearing there was no physical contact. A little bit unlucky because the American Bjornsson went down, and that obstructed the progress of Belarukova. But if there was no contact, they will be disqualified. And we saw yesterday how harsh the jury are.
Well, I suppose rules are rules, and if you don't make that physical contact, that's a real pity. The circumstances there were unusual. We haven't seen that before. Maybe there'll be some sympathy for that fall. Well, there's Fala going now. She's leaving it late, but now she's got to try and make some early separation in this group.
I think she's trying to reduce the numbers, and she may well take it all the way down to 1 or 2. Nielsen trying to go with her from Sweden, and Nielsen's a much improved athlete this year. She's a youngster, Mike, compared to many of the athletes out there, but I was just thinking Nielsen perhaps suffering a little bit like Charlotte Kalla did in 2008 when Kalla won the Tour de Ski as a youngster. Nielsen didn't win it, but she was leading up to the last day, and her form seems to have plummeted since then.
And of course, Nielsen has taken part in nearly all of the races this season. Fala at the front has only done 16 of the races this season, and I think that's why she's so sparky and, of course, took the victory in the out-and-out sprint competition.
Well, Nielsen hanging on in there. She's just 5 or 6 meters behind Fowler. She could get in the slipstream on this downhill. Here's the long traverse of Indian Hill, as it's known, leading up to Jay Corner, and then they drop down into the stadium. There's roughly 600 meters to go from the corner, which Fowler is about to negotiate now. Fowler, for me, is a much more convincing technician, downhiller, than Heidi Weng.
She's so light, she's so reactive on these corners. You need good timing, great awareness, because you are coming into that corner very fast. These skis are not easy to control, 2 meters long, and it's almost like a training shoe, a running shoe that you're connected to.
Now, Nielsen, who we thought had dreadful skis on the last lap, suddenly seems to be matching the Norwegians.
They sorted it.
Yeah, a little bit of Sierra F, maybe scraping off some of the stick wax to make sure it doesn't slow the skis down. They've done a good job, and that could be the secret to success here. So Norway and Sweden, the two greatest rivals in cross-country skiing, going out side by side. And then just a fraction back are Germany, Fessel, the Olympic champions from 2010, and Finland with Niskanen. They've won this on one occasion. They'd love to do it again on home snow, but it's going to be a big, big ask. They did it back in 2009. Saarinen was in that team.
I do remember that very well. Of course, they had a lot of success in Liberec, the World Championships in the Czech Republic.
Now, has Norway's plan backfired? It looked as though at one stage Fowler was going to try and make a clean break, but it's not happened, and their exchange was particularly poor. It's allowed Russia to get back into it, and of course we've got Finland there as well. 2 laps to go in the women's team sprint event. Norway leading at the moment. So important to keep moving when you're not in action. Just prevent lactate build-up. And the temptation is just to sit down and close your eyes. You sort of feel fatigued after each interval, but you've got to keep moving.
Got to keep the lactic flowing, try and get maximum recovery. Heidi Weng, we did say the last time she led up here, she tried to break, but it's not working this time. Russia's passing her. I wonder if they know they're going to be disqualified.
Well, this is a phenomenal effort from Bela Rukova, who... yeah, it would be very, very disappointing if they won it and then found themselves disqualified. But what we could see here, Mike, is Russia taking Norway to a decent lead over everyone else who we feel is still in the competition. And look at the damage done. Finland have gone down. Saarinen's tripped over the skis, just as Sundby did yesterday in the final stages of the men's skiathlon. And now Russia and Norway are away.
Well, Bela Rukova, we saw this new talent come in for the first race of the season up in Finland, and really she showed us a whole lot of excitement since then, and when it matters most, she has really attacked up the steepest of climbs.
Well, I'm not sure I can see Matvieva beating Fowler on the last lap, but we've seen some strange things occur over the season. Maybe there's one more twist coming. Here's the little slip from Sweden that's cost them dear. Ingmar's daughter losing her momentum, and then, well, I don't know whose pole it was between the skis of the Finn Saarinen.
Well, you know what it's like when you're at your most fatigue and then you do an accidental slip. You're annoyed with yourself. I think she was brought down by Ingemar's daughter. Her ski tip was in the way.
And to the inch, that was the same spot that Sundby went down yesterday. There's something about that little patch of snow.
Falling hill.
Leading to dropping down into the stadium. They've got less than 350 meters through to the exchange. Finland still in for a medal. Sweden wearing 11 at the back. You've got Germany in there as well. And the United States won't give up with Bjornsson and Diggins. Jessie Diggins taking the final lap for the Americans. Russia rounding the bend. Bela Rukova once again showing what a star she is, and certainly a big name for the future. This is the race for the bronze medal at the moment, and they're way, way behind. 70, 80 meters, the difference between second and third.
Fowler's now got the opportunity. She's been handed over to in second place, but just to show her sprinting credentials.
Now, will Fowler rely on that entirely through to the finish, or will she try and make a break on the climb? We're going to find out in the next minute or so. What a battle for the bronze. Germany will want their first cross-country medal. It could come today, but the Americans with Jessie Diggins, who's the silver medalist from the individual sprint, she'll fancy another shot on the podium.
Well, Fala, she's kept reasonably composed, but you just feel she's going to turn her pace completely to another level.
Yeah, the second phase of this climb, the Norwegians seem to like it for a final burst. Bjørgen did it in the skiathlon. Sundby tried and failed. What are we going to see now from Fala? She's still got another 45 meters or so before she'll break to the left and then continue the second phase of this ascent. 43 meters from the start to the top, and it is one relentless climb. They make it look easy, Mike, and the cameras, it has to be said, make it look flat. We tried it last night. It's anything but.
It's yeah, the cameras just make this thing look far too easy. Now Fala has to keep her pace going if she wants another gold, and has to extend that pace. Actually, she needs to go into her there it is. There's the tempo that she's most comfortable with.
Yeah, no response from Matvieva at this stage, and that gap of 2 meters on the uphill will be converted into 10, 12 meters once they hit the flat section at the top. Good work from Fala. Is she heading for a gold medal? She deserves it. She's been an outstanding athlete all the way through the season. The winner of the Sprint World Cup last year. She, of course, has the Olympic sprint title. She's got the World Sprint title. She could be adding the team sprint to that as well. Nielsen suddenly gets away from Niskanen, who's struggling a little. Jessie Diggins just needs to hang on in there, but the wax isn't working for Diggins.
Well, and remember, Nielsen's skis have much improved from her, second lap, or her first lap, actually, where they were really poor. But Finland need to get back into this. Niskanen needs to find something special.
Niskanen looks absolutely spent out there, but she's only got another 30 meters of flat, and then she'll get at least 40 seconds rest as she descends down to the stadium. There is the gap between first and second, and in fact, Matvieva of Russia yet to come into the picture. Fala has broken away, and Heidi Weng, who's had 2 very disappointing races so far, provided Fala stays on her feet round this final corner, it's going to be a first medal for Weng as well.
I like Fala's little look. She wasn't quite sure if she had company. She didn't have company, and now she can relax.
Now, Mike, if Russia are disqualified, and there's no word of that as yet, then both Sweden and America could be in for a medal. And if Finland had known that, I think we'd have seen a different performance from Niskanen.
Well, that's quite amazing. Niskanen's trying. She's trying to close that gap, but I think it's just a little too far now with 350 meters to go.
3 women's cross-country events, and all 3 golds have gone to the same country. Fala took the individual sprint, Bjørgen took the skiathlon, and Fala teaming up, of course, with Heidi Weng this time round to take gold number 3 and put Norway back to the top of the medal table. 2020, the winning time. Russia celebrating at the moment. We suspect there'll be some bad news for them, but again, we can't conclude that quite yet. We'll wait to hear. This, at the moment, the race for the bronze medal, and Jessie Diggins does what she did in the individual sprint. A fantastically timed finish to deny Sweden. So USA, whatever happens, are on the podium. Could be bronze, could be silver.
That was an almighty battle for the third place at the moment. And Nielsen, I'm surprised Nielsen got taken, but when Jess Diggins wants something, she can dig deeper than most.
So the Germans back down in 6th position, pretty much going to form. Switzerland have done pretty well. The disappointing news for Switzerland is that Dario Colonia has been out of action so far. We're expecting to see him, certainly in the relay, Mike, but he will not enter a classic race.
No, he's had problems with his left leg, his calf muscle, and that's a real pity. He always performs so well at World Championships.
Yeah, but if there's one country that's got good physios and masseurs, it's here in Finland. So hopefully someone's working on them.
Well, let's hope so. A great job there from Fala. Weng, she must be tired. Three races in 4 days on top of 26 earlier this season, and now she's got a gold medal.
Belarukova on the right there for Russia. Fala, big smiles all round. Well done to the Americans. They're on the podium again. They had a brilliant biathlon World Championships. They're having an excellent Nordic World Championships as well. Great race, Mike. The really big move was saved till the last lap.
Well, when you've got a rocket as your anchor leg, you can maybe afford to risk something. Of course, they extended a little. Only Russia managed to stay with the Norwegian pace at the end. And when it came to those final, well, 500-600 meters, it was all about Faller.
Do we give all the credit to Faller, or do you think Heidi Weng played her part?
Well, we saw Heidi Weng trying to make, she was just feeling if she had the strength in her legs. She made a slight impression on her second leg.
Yeah, and on her third leg, actually. And although the other teams caught up with her, initially, she made them work hard over that first 200 meters, and that's always important.
It really is. I'm just surprised. We certainly heard in our headset, and, you know, I'm sure the rules are you need to make contact with your athlete you're handing over to, and maybe we'll get another chance to see it, but I don't think that did occur with the Russians' second changeover.
So Jessie Diggins coming in. Watch the lunge for the line. So many athletes mistime it. She got it to perfection to deny Stina Nilsson of Sweden. So Ingmar's daughter and Nilsson down in 4th place at the moment. And I guess as time goes on, we've got to assume that Russia are not going to be disqualified.
Well, if positivity can move mountains, Jess Diggins, when you see her on every start line, she's so happy, she's so positive, and she believes in miracles.
Yeah, gold in 2013. Looks like they've got the bronze medal in 2017. 2020 56, the winning time for Norway. So the first final completed, and Norway once again coming away with the gold medal. So that's 3 out of 3 for the Norwegian women, and Russia in 2nd place, denied by 5.5 seconds. United States, good run from them. Jessie Diggins, brilliant finish as always from her. I wonder how Kicking around was feeling.
I'll just say you're a little bit excited.
Didn't play a part in the American team.
Heidi, how was it when you saw Belarukova go on the last leg there? It was boom. I don't think we were expecting that attack.
No, because I had the same plan, so I just, I must go. But yeah, with a team with Maiken, and that's the dream for me, to go with Maiken, and she is so strong in the hill, and yeah, when I stay in the finish line, I just cried because I was so happy, and see Maiken in so good shape, and yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and Maiken, you see that attack. Heidi responds right away, but it blows the field wide open, so now you know it's a 2-person race for the gold. Talk us through when you get started.
I watched them, but I tried to not concentrate so much. I'm concentrating on myself and my own job, but yeah, I knew Heidi is really strong, and she's a stayer. She's never giving up, so I knew she was a good person to have on the first laps.
Congratulations, you ladies are world champions. You for the 2nd time at these championships. Way to go.
Thank you.
So a little bit of mutual appreciation there from the 2 Norwegian women, Weng and Faller. And actually, absolutely right, Belarukova made a break on her final lap. Weng went with it, and that's really what split the teams.
Belarukova was incredible. Her turn of pace, we saw that early season. She came in as a junior world champion in November, and she's grown in stature really since then, and that was an incredible turn of pace.
Yeah, bold move to take on the Norwegians.
And of course, Weng had the same plan. Now, she was just about to try and go, but in the end couldn't stay with that break. But of course, Faller as an anchor is the safest anchor you've got.
And of course, it played a part in helping Norway to the gold medal. Norwegian men will want to replicate that. They were looking for a double in the men's sprint. Didn't quite come off for them, with Ustiagoff and Pellegrino pushing Norway down into the bronze medal position. Norway definitely in the men's the most successful team in terms of the team sprint, Mike.
Yes, the men, and when you got Klæbo going first, I think they'll maybe try a different strategy today. We normally see it lap, 4 or 5 where breaks are made, but I think the Norwegians may well go early today. He's a real missile. He's only 20 years old, and he's got this puppy kind of flair, this not really aware of the situation that he's in. This huge stadium that he's in, the World Championships, his first. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, we certainly will, but we think that Klæbo is going to be the man who tries to make the break. I doubt it will be on lap 1. Lap 3 is certainly a possibility. There he is, only 20 years old. He won his first World Cup in Otterburn just before coming to these World Championships, and of course got himself a bronze medal in the individual sprint. Finland. They've brought in the old guys, Jauhajärvi and Niskanen, and Jauhajärvi just qualifying at the beginning of February by winning the national championship 15-kilometre classic style. Some saying that the rest were just preparing for the championships because they were already qualified, but Jauhajärvi finishing a minute 20 ahead of everyone. Emil Jonsson's in, and a great character. He was the first top world-class classic sprinter, wasn't he, Jonsson? So we're looking forward to seeing him in action. And what about Kryakov? 2010 he won the Olympic sprint title, and he's been in every team sprint major championships since then.
Yes, he's a real star. He's got tempo. Of course, that Olympic gold medal which he had. Italian team, strong team. Anchorman is excellent, and I think they'll stay, live with the pain, live with the pace early on.
Harvian Valjas. Well, the Canadians won back in 2011 in front of 100,000 Norwegians. Can they do it in front of 30,000 Finns here in Lahti? Hamilton fell in the individual sprint, so he's got something to prove here, and he races with Sadie Björnsson's brother, Bing and Eisenlauer. Bing with a very sore shoulder, I suspect. Will he last the course? Ferger and Hediger still no Dario Colonia. Berry and Stareger go for Poland. Stareger making the knockout phases of the individual sprint, so don't rule them out quite yet, but they'll need to stay with it. Klæbo, wow, what a start from him. He's stolen 3 or 4 meters over the first 10.
Well, I think we'll have to wait and see, but I think that he's just such a miracle man, and he's got all the freedom of no pressure. I think he will try and take the whole thing. Surely he's not going to double pole all the way around this course.
We were talking last night as to whether it was a possibility. Norway always tries something. No, he's got a little bit of grip wax in there, but he's shown just how powerful his double pole is. He's got a lead of some 3 or 4 meters over Emil Jonsson, and Russia looking comfortable. Kryakov's a beautiful classic skier, sitting in third at the moment, and of course teamed up with yesterday's winner.
Well, yesterday's winner, if Ustigov is not tired today, 30 kilometers yesterday. 2 days before that, he had 4 times around these tracks, not these particular ones, to take silver medal in the sprint competition. That's a huge amount of work in, well, today, the 4th day. Klæbo, well, he tried, he tested the field, he made some gap. I think he'll put another little pace on here.
Well, that's a good point to go. I think he'll just be working out what he's going to do on the actual lap that he decides to try and make his move. Now, we've seen him stomping his way up the hill. This is a technique. It's not particularly pretty, but this was introduced by Petter Northug at the World Championships 2 years ago, Mike. And we saw Northug storm up. He's gone on limited wax. There's no doubt about that. What he's trying to do is get extra pressure down through the ski, so the little bit of wax that he has got works.
Well, coaches 20 years ago would say to all their beginners, never ever go up a hill like that, because you've got to try and slide and get the efficiency of movement. But as you say, there's very little wax, so they're trying to compress all their body weight very briefly on that one moment to get the wax gripping the snow crystals. It seems to work.
Yeah, well, let's hope it doesn't catch on, because it's not quite as elegant as the traditional style, but is it as effective? We will see as the race goes on. The 3 minutes for the technicians to do something to the skis in between. It's quite possible that they'll say, OK, for the last lap, you need a little bit more grip. But that is when you also want the ultimate ski speed coming down into the finish.
Very much, and the coaches will now be watching exactly where their athletes are, just to see the relation to their glide to those around them. And as you say, 3 minutes to make any changes. Klæbo, well, his skis are going fast. The light wax is certainly paying off. It's a good strategy, but it's hard work up that hill when he has to go for the running.
So look at the margin that Klæbo has opened up, and at this stage of the women's race there was only 7 or 8 meters between all 10 teams. Klæbo has split them by at least 60-65 meters, and this Sweden in a panic.
It's a brutal strategy, Patrick, but I think that must be what the Norwegians are going for. Try and get a 10-meter lead, but survive with that is very difficult.
And that means that Iverson's going to have to do exactly the same, keeping a careful eye on his skating out of the stadium. him. He certainly overdid it in the semi-finals. I think the jury having a word with the Norwegians, saying 2 or 3 skates to get your alignment for the first climb. That is enough.
And I think that nobody wants to see teams yellow carded here, but I think the juries did have a warning, a little chat with all the coaches. Listen, brief your athletes, don't take skating too far around the corners.
Now, that gap that Klæbo opened up, Mike, has gone. So, was it worthwhile?
I think it was. I think that if Iversen had the had the feeling, he would have tried to run with it, but it was an incredible early pace there for Klæbo. Will it have payback on his performance third time round? Maybe it will.
2:57 for 1,400 meters. You can do the math yourself to work out just what the speed is. But just a reminder, the sprint individual race, they averaged 30 kilometers an hour. In the skiathlon, over 30 kilometers, they averaged 26 kilometers an hour. And that included over 1,000 meters of vertical climbing.
It's quite incredible. There's Ustigov, who took the title yesterday. 30 kilometers of fierce battle between him and Norway's best Sundby.
Yeah, and one thing that Klæbo has done is he's made Ustiakov work on this leg, because Ustiakov will want to get back to the front. He may do it on the first lap, he may do it on the second. He's going to find it a whole lot harder on the final one.
He certainly is. Finland still in there. That's going to keep the quiet Finns less quiet. They're always quite subdued, but they do get excited when they see their team up the front. We saw that yesterday in the women's race, silver medal.
2 years ago, Norway, Russia, Italy were the top 3 teams. At the moment, we've got Norway, Sweden, Russia, Canada, Italy, Germany, Finland, and just behind them, the Americans.
Well, it's about survival. Although Klæbo set the fast pace, it did allow Iversen to get a little gain, and it really is making the rest of the teams hurt. Normally, we see quite tight racing at this stage after only 5 minutes. So ski glide into the corner. Well, it's not all going Norway's way. The teams have managed to pull the gain at the top of the climb, pull that gain back.
And we mentioned at the beginning that the Norwegian men and women's tactics very different. They put their sprinter, the women put their sprinter on the last leg. The men have put them on the first leg. So Iversen does not look like a winner if he's with the other teams coming down into the stadium.
Yeah, that's an interesting strategy. Very interesting strategy from the Norwegians, but the enthusiasm of Klæbo. Oh, look at Ustigov. He's now managed to get around. You're right, Iversen looking a little clumsy on that bend.
Yeah, and he looks tired as well. That might be something to do with the effort he put in. He had a broken pole and a fall in the semi-final. So Ustiakov using more energy than he would have liked otherwise. Pellegrino has done a good job on the second leg for Italy. And if Italy can stay with them through to the final lap, Mike, they've got a very good chance of taking their second goal.
They have a wonderful chance. And, of course, Italy only 3.54 behind. The margins are still so small.
So at the exchange, Norway ahead of Sweden. Canada were up there as well. In fact it's looking at exchange one. Yeah, Russia, yep. Norway, Sweden, Italy, Canada, the top 5. Finland 2 seconds behind. The United States 3, Germany 3.5, Poland 3.8. So still very tight after Klæbo split the field on the first leg. Here we go again.
We've never seen it quite like this before. Yeah. It's just running on skis, but I think that's a lot of energy. But of course he's getting the grip. He only has to survive it up this next 18-20 seconds.
Yeah, I remember my first ever race, a huge Frenchman on the side of the track shouting, "Ski, don't run." I wonder what he's thinking now when he sees this. Here's a man leading the field, and actually he's doing quite a lot of damage, Mike. He's getting good traction down through the ski. Harvey in second place at the moment. Russia with Kryakov, the Olympic champion from 2010, not looking quite as sharp as he did out in Vancouver.
Now all the rest of the teams are having to go into the herringbone run, or the herringbone as it's called, and that's also hard work. Maybe this running is slightly more efficient. Klæbo, the Norwegians have certainly done a lot of training. They call it moose running in the summer, little short strides up very steep hills.
Yeah, put the snowshoes on, find a steep slope, and off they go. It's not something they would have they won't just be using it here, as you suggest. They might have done a lot of training and a lot of secretive training as well.
Look what it's doing. It's smashing the rest of this field.
Great work from Klæbo. He's got a decent lead for Norway again. The good news for Norway is that Klæbo is flying. The bad news is that Iversen does not look happy at all. He looks exhausted after his first run. He's got another, 2.8 kilometers to ski, 2 laps of the 1.4 kilometer course, 2 ascents of the 43-meter climb. He's got to be in good shape to win this one. Klæbo certainly is, but he's put in 2 monster efforts already. He's got to do 1 more, and he might have to have a bigger lead than this if Norway are going to win this one.
It's quite incredible the deficit, or the space that he can make between himself and the rest. I'm quite amazed the Norwegians didn't leave this special athlete as the anchor leg for Norway. We'll have to wait and see how it pans out.
6 times this event has been held, and the Norwegians have taken gold on 3 occasions, silver on 1. Russia have 1 gold, 2 silver, 2 bronze, and Canada and Finland the only other 2 teams to have won a major title in the team sprint. And we've got Norway, Sweden, Russia, Germany in the leading 4 at the moment. Now, what does Ustiugov do this time around?
Well, Ustiugov, he's got 5.78 seconds. I think he's going to try and pull that back as fast as possible, then try and pass Iversen. That's his mission. There he comes already. Those 5.8 seconds closing. How can Ustiugov keep doing this? Yesterday, it was just the biggest fight, 1 hour 11 minutes we've ever seen.
I was thinking exactly the same last night when I saw he had the anchor leg. Something that you've got to point out is that classic and freestyle, the traditional and the skating techniques use very different muscle groups.
Yes, they do. The freestyle, it's more like cycling, more like strength training, both through the arms and legs. This is more like running. But without a doubt, Ustiugov was slipping there. Pellegrino finding it quite easy to stay with him. And Pellegrino, the Italian with the gold medal from sprinting, he'll figure, right, I can do this next time.
Well, I think Iversen can afford to go at 85% here and save something for the final lap. Pellegrino on the far side, he's sharp, isn't he? And having beaten Ustiugov in the sprint final, he'll be full of confidence and hoping that he can bring Italy yet another medal in the team sprint. They've got 1 bronze to their name at the moment, and that, for many, is underperformance. But so many people pointing out that the Italian team is very, very small compared to Norway, Sweden, Russia.
Oh, budget-wise, it's a minnow compared to those big nations, and you need money, you need backup to prepare the skis, to get yourself ready. What about Niskanen? I heard a ripple in the audience here. It's because the Finns are coming back into this one.
And Jauhajärvi, the other man in the Finnish team. Jauhajärvi, 1 more to go. And if he can stay with the leaders, then they've certainly got a chance, because Niskanen's looked good on his penultimate loop.
Ustiugov, for me though, Patrick, he's tried. He is such a fighter. He's tried to go, but his body's not following his messages from his brain at the moment.
Well, the gap's not quite as big as it was when Klæbo came around this corner last time around, but they've got Klæbo ready to go. Drifting wide is Ustiugov, losing 2 or 3 meters. It is still a difficult corner, but it's nowhere near as difficult as it used to be back in 2001 when the World Championships were last held here in Lahti. A 40-meter lead this time. It was 65 last time they came into the exchange, and Ustiugov trying to close that down to 35, 20. Oh, it's getting closer and closer. Brilliant finish from Ustiugov. What was that? 7-8 skating steps. Mike, surprised you didn't pick up on that.
I did pick up on it. I didn't want to say the jury will be watching those skating steps. It really does give you momentum. What about Russia? Straight back into it.
Incredible. 5 meters in the end. It's not a foregone conclusion that Norway are going to win this one, and we wait to see whether Klæbo can do the damage that he's done on the previous 2 laps. How many sprints do you have in your legs on a day like this?
When your name's Klæbo, you've got endless sprints. He is just so special.
He's only 20 years old, Mike. Looks as though he's in cruise mode at the moment. He'll wait for the steepest part of the climb to press that button and go into the, what do you call it, the moose step.
That's it, moose running in the summer, where they're running with their ski poles and trainers. What about Jauhajärvi? He knows that he has to do something now, because Pellegrino, there's the anchor man for Italy, and it's the next lap, or is the final lap, when Pellegrino is handed over to in about 2.5 minutes time.
Russia in a spot of bother, and Klæbo has open the gap up. But what does it need to be? 50, 60 meters? Here he goes.
Well, I think but the way Iversen loses so much in the stadium, he's going to have to get 80, 90 meters.
Well, he might well have that. And Jauhi Järvi of Finland suddenly finds a second wind. It's his last little bit of effort today, and he's giving absolutely everything. Russia going from second to third to fourth as the Italians come through. Great effort from Nukla of Italy, and Jauhi Järvi giving Niskanen a chance of getting on the podium. The Finns have one silver medal to their name, and of course it came in the women's skiathlon yesterday. What a sensational ski that was from Palmakoski. What can Ustiakov do? Can he make it 3 medals from 3 races? It might be a tough job, but if anyone can, he can. Iversen rounds the penultimate corner safely. The margin, Klæbo I should say, but the margin is not quite as big as it was last time, Mike. But on this downhill section, maybe Klæbo can gain a couple of extra meters with the glide that he's shown so far.
He certainly has, with the waxing very light. He'll take the glide as far as possible, but when they're working 3 together, they may well close at least another 10 meters.
Klæbo has got to keep the pressure on. Iversen is going to be the most nervous man in the stadium, because he knows that he's not got quite as much of an advantage as he had at the start of the last leg, and they were right on his tail. Iversen versus Ustiakov, I feel this one is, Mike, although Niskanen is racing for a medal, perhaps not for the win.
Well, Juha Järvi has done an incredible job there to get Finland right back into this, and of course Niskanen is the better, the faster man of the pairing.
And away goes Iversen again. It's not a brilliant handover, but it's better than most that we've seen from the Norwegians. The margin is 45 meters. Finland in second place. Juha Järvi brilliant on his last run. Nukla got Italy into third. Kryakov for Russia down in 4, and the margin just 5.9 seconds. Ustiakov will not wait long at the back of that chasing group to make his move.
The Norwegians know this is serious. They know that Iversen's not quite at his best today. They saw some doubt in his face. He's got rid of his hat. He means business out there. Yeah,
he looked very, very hot at the end of that second run. Anything to keep the body cool. Here comes the steep section, and Iversen's got to go round the next corner with a lead of at least 20 meters, and then he's got to dig as deep as he's done all season. Don't forget, Iversen's a class act, Mike. Second in the sprint in Falun. The following day, he went and finished first in the 30-kilometer class.
It's quite incredible the 2 days, day on day, and as you say, to win the sprint. He's a big guy. He doesn't really like these steep climbs, but he just has to survive this one and then keep the momentum.
Many will be wondering what would have happened to the Norwegians had Northug had a place in the team event. He did, of course, 2 years ago, and they came away as champions. Now we see a move from Pellegrino. Comes right up behind Niskanen, and Ustiakov's got nothing left to give. We suggested 2 laps of chasing is enough, Mike, on a course like this, and it seems that way at the moment. Ustiakov, the best he can hope for, I think, is silver.
He's just surviving on his mind power. His body is absolutely spent.
Great burst of energy from Niskanen to open a gap up between himself and Pellegrino.
But he's got Pellegrino, and Pellegrino's a missile in that last 50.
Yeah, and Pellegrino's in just the right place for the downhill section. Watch him just get sucked up behind the Finn as they come down into the stadium. The long descent is about to start. Iversen's lead is not substantial. The gold medal is far from secured because Niskanen has had an unbelievable run. They're down to 15 meters between first and second, 10 further back to Italy, and Russia with Ustiakov aren't out of it quite yet in 4th place.
Ustiakov's skis are gliding beautifully. He's definitely got the best glide out of the 4 at the front.
Norway could well be going from gold to nothing in the space of the next 500 meters.
The fear in Iversen's face. He had 5, nearly 6 seconds. He's only got half a second now.
And the glide is not good, Mike. Watch Finland come up behind. It could be gold for Finland. That would be a sensation here. Meter by meter. Meter by meter.
They go, oh! Unbelievable.
Well, that is just pure drama, and Russia, who got the benefit of a fall yesterday, are going to get exactly the same again today. It's Ustiakov who comes home to claim gold number 2. Pellegrino can't do anything about the Russian this time round, and for the second day in succession, Norway lose out on a certain gold. Unbelievable. 17:40 the time, 6 times round the 1.4. Finland, their chance of gold disappearing with that collision. And Iversen, how will he recover from this? And you have to feel sorry for Klæbo, who did so much work. He was the star of the day, but you saw the fear on Iversen's face before it started, Mike. That was always on the cards.
Well, that was incredible. If Niskanen went up to him and said, what on earth, what happened? Well, when you're spent, when you've done everything, when you've given everything you've got, mistakes happen. I think he crossed over in front of Niskanen when maybe he shouldn't have.
So a second medal for Italy. Pellegrino saying he was so sad that the Italians got nothing from the Alpine World Championships. They got nothing from the Biathlon World Championships. He knew he had to do something. He's done more than something. He's got himself a gold and he's got the team a silver as well. But Russia, well, what about that? They've got 2 golds and a silver from the 3 men's cross-country races. Great news for them, and in a way it's good that Finland managed to pull themselves together and get into that bronze medal position. But it would have been an absolutely classic finish had Norway and Finland come down the back straight together.
Well, you saw the way Niskanen would of course Iversen was going. He had nothing left, and Niskanen was coming on so fast. His skis were fantastic. Here we go, we'll see it again. Look at the skis there. Niskanen, he's completely roadblocked.
But Niskanen's at fault because he's gone on the inside. Go on the outside. It's the only safe way, because Iversen had absolutely every bit of right to step to his left. There you go. It was always going to happen, and we saw it in the women's sprint as well. And yeah, Iversen wasn't going to let him go at that stage. I'm not suggesting foul play, but I thought that was a little bit of a tactical mistake from the Finns.
Well, Norway, he did look back. Iversen looked back, and there he sees him, but he didn't know that Niskanen was going to take that left turn. He thought he'd take the inside line, which is his. You know, he can do that. He's leading the race. Niskanen, yes, should maybe have just waited and gone out on the outside.
Great effort from Niskanen.
That's a gold gone. That was their magic moment. Now it's gone.
So Kryakov is back on top of the podium. Just where he was Petchikov back in 2013. Can they believe their luck? I very much doubt it. Italy delighted with the silver. Well, let's have a look at replay of the finish. We could do with seeing the fall again, to be honest. Once the 2 leaders had fallen, Russia and Italy were always going to take the top 2 spots. It does just show you, Mike, never give up, because anything can happen in the last couple of meters.
Well, and in these championships especially, strange things are happening. Your legs are so spent at the top of the big climb, your brain isn't functioning, you're surviving. And Ushchikov was in 4th by a long way. His skis were wonderful, and he never ever gave up. He always kept believing. What an athlete.
Well, I can't quite believe what we've just seen, but there are your results. Russia, Italy, Finland, and Norway missing on the chance. Well, just trying to get our breath back here in Lahti. The result of the men's sprint, Russia taking the title ahead of Italy and Finland in 3rd place. Now, had that incident between the Finns and Norwegians not happened with 200 meters to go, Mike, Finland or Norway to take it?
Finland. I think Iversen was at the end of his races. He wasn't thinking straight. He was making errors. He should have been on that inside line before that corner. You need to take the inside line, so he set himself up for error or to be taken.
Are the Finns going to get another chance?
Well, they were not happy. The stadium went quiet. There was a lot of head shaking. They could not believe what's happened.
Nikita, I'll have you speak for both of you. How was it for you watching the final 200 meters there?
I looked last heat from Sergei, and saw then Sergei a little bit tired because me not so fast in my heat. But in a finish last downhill, when I looked the Finnish guys and Norway fell down, and after Sergei had a good accelerate and a finish, and we were 1st place. I thought I think that a little bit revenge about Sochi team sprint. And today, God helped me, God helped us, our team, and we're really happy.
Congratulations to both of you. Right now, just you. I'll let you go celebrate with your team, world champions.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, he mentioned the revenge from Sochi. Russia, of course, taking a fall in the team sprint there. Ustiakov himself fell in the final of the individual sprint, reduced down to 5th place. That was an incredibly demanding course. But, OK, fair enough. They've got their own back. They've struck lucky twice.
Quite amazing, that men's race, especially, and lots of twists and turns in the women's race as well.
The women's race, well, this is the race for the bronze medal. Jessie Diggins getting in there for the United States, just denying Nilsson of Sweden. Norway and Russia taking the gold and the silver. In the men's, well, it was something else. We've seen plenty of drama here over the week, Mike.
Yes, World Championships, very strange things happen. The athletes are here. It's every second year is the World Championships, and these special moments.
Well, still no news about any decision made on the Russians, so we're assuming that there was contact made, although we didn't see it. They stay in the silver medal position, but Norway convincing. Falla really the star of the show, but Weng played her part taking the first leg, and I wonder how different it would have been had Klæbo taken the second leg of the Norwegians team, not the first. Sometimes, Mike, they just try a little bit too hard to be different.
It's quite strange. You've got to have a fast finisher. You've got to have an athlete that's special. Klæbo is that man, and they obviously thought the strategy would be to break the field, and that's sensible to put him first in that situation. But there's a lot of risk with that tactic.
In Falun, they did the same, but they had Northug on the final leg. That was the collision between Iversen. The crowd feeling that the Finns were hard done by. Iversen, to be fair to him, he's looked to his front before Niskanen makes his move into that left-hand track. Niskanen, for me, should have gone wide. There was meters of space, and he had so much better ski speed that he would have been past Iversen in the space of 5 meters.
But no athlete going to the finish line ever takes the outside lane. Track and field, you've got to be on that inside lane. He should have been in that inside lane initially. Iversen, I think the mistake was his.
I can't agree, Mike, because there's no way Iversen is going to step to his right to go outside. There's always a risk that the man in front, and he has the right of track, will step to the left.
But he brought risk to his game by not being on that inside lane.
Well, we can argue that one long into the night. As it happens, it's the Russians who've taken advantage and taken their second gold in the men's cross-country. Well, that completes our coverage for today in terms of the cross-country. We've got Nordic combined still to go today, and some ski jumping as well. It's going to be a long, long weekend. And, of course, the championships run all the way through until next Sunday. The men's 50 is going to be an absolutely fabulous race. I suspect Russia and Norway will be head-to-head yet again. Norway and Russia, the two winners in the team sprint.